Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! In the dimly lit chamber, a solitary coder toiled against time, his fervor reflected in the frenetic typing echoing through the silence. The workspace, cloaked in shadows, revealed a digital battlefield where creation knew no bounds. Amidst the debris of countless consumed energizers and snacks, Anderson Reed's focus shone brighter than the screen's glare. Fueled by sheer determination, the looming deadline seemed oblivious to his unyielding spirit. A thin facade of exhaustion enveloped his lean frame, yet his unwavering resolve remained unaffected. As his delicate fingers adjusted his spectacles, Anderson's mind momentarily wandered. Within his gaze was the culmination of 6 months of tireless dedication, a revolutionary yoga app destined to transform the wellness realm. His sandy blonde locks, tousled from persistent concentration, framed his face as he prepared to unveil his masterpiece to the world. With the final stroke of his keyboard, he sealed his triumph. "The journey," he whispered, his voice reverberating in the quiet, "culminates here." The sudden absence of blue light left him momentarily blind in his apartment. Morning arrived with unwelcome brightness. Anderson shuffled to his kitchen, pouring coffee into a mug that read, "I'd rather be coding." His phone buzzed with an email from his investor. "Great work on the app development. When can we expect user testing results?" Anderson sighed. User testing meant real people using his app in real yoga classes. He'd designed OmTracker to monitor and analyze yoga progress, suggesting personalized improvements based on user data. The concept had secured him significant funding, but the app needed to be tested in actual yoga environments. He'd never stepped foot in a yoga studio before. Opening his laptop, he researched local yoga studios. After comparing several options, he settled on Serenity Flow, a studio 10 minutes from his apartment that offered classes for all levels. Their website showed photos of serene-looking women in various poses, their faces peaceful. Anderson picked up the phone and dialed the number. "Serenity Flow, how may I help you?" A cheerful voice answered. "Hi, I'd like to register for some classes," he said, drumming his fingers nervously on his desk. "Wonderful! Are you new to yoga?" "Yes, complete beginner." "We have a great beginners series starting next week. 3 classes per week for a month. It's perfect for newcomers." "That sounds perfect." "Great! Your name?" Anderson hesitated. Anderson Reed." There was a brief pause on the line. "Of course, Mr. Reed. Just so you know, our classes tend to have mostly female participants, but we welcome everyone. Some men find it intimidating at first, but our instructors create a very inclusive environment." "Oh." The thought of being the only man in a room full of women while fumbling through yoga poses made his stomach clench. "Actually, would you prefer private sessions to start? Many of our male clients do." "No, that's... How many men usually attend the regular classes?" "For the beginners series? Maybe 1 or 2 out of 25 students, if any." Anderson swallowed hard. He needed authentic testing conditions, classes filled with the app's target demographic. Private sessions wouldn't provide enough data, but walking in as the only male programmer, obviously there to observe rather than participate, would change the dynamic completely. People would be self-conscious, behave differently, maybe even refuse to participate in testing. Then an idea struck him. It was unorthodox, perhaps even inappropriate, but it solved the problem. "Sorry, there's been a mix-up," he said suddenly. "My name is Kayla Anderson. I must have misspoken." "Oh, no problem, Ms. Anderson." Shall I register you for the beginners series? Yes, please. After completing the registration, Anderson sat back, heart pounding. What had he just committed to? The idea of pretending to be a woman hadn't been premeditated. It just slipped out as a solution to his problem. His investors needed results, and this approach would provide the most accurate data without disrupting the natural class environment. He justified it as market research. Nothing more. The following morning found Anderson standing in a women's clothing store, feeling completely out of place in his baggy jeans and faded gray t-shirt. "Can I help you find something?" asked a store clerk with a friendly smile. "I'm looking for..." His voice trailed off. "Yoga clothes. For my girlfriend." "What size is she?" Anderson glanced down at his own slim build. "About my height, but, slimmer." 20 minutes and several awkward questions later, Anderson left with a shopping bag containing black leggings with subtle rainbow stitching along the sides, a fitted blue tank top, and a simple black sports bra. The clerk had assured him these were perfect beginner yoga essentials. Back at his apartment, he stared at the items laid out on his bed. This was just for research, just to test his app. He picked up the leggings, feeling the stretchy material between his fingers. They seemed impossibly small. 2 days later, Anderson stood outside Serenity Flow Yoga Studio, clutching a pink yoga mat he'd ordered online. His heart hammered against his ribs. The clothing felt strange against his skin, tight in unfamiliar places. He'd spent hours watching makeup tutorials and had done his best with the products he'd purchased. A blonde wig, carefully styled into a medium-length bob, completed his transformation. He had shaved meticulously, applied foundation to hide any shadow, and practiced walking and speaking in a higher register. The black leggings hugged his legs, and the blue tank top was loose enough to disguise his flat chest, while the sports bra created a slight illusion of feminine curves. Taking a deep breath, he pushed open the door and stepped inside. The studio smelled of essential oils and clean wood. Women of various ages chatted in small groups, their yoga mats rolled under their arms. Anderson, now Kayla, approached the front desk.
"Hello,"
he said in the practiced, higher voice. "I'm Kayla Anderson. This is my first class." The receptionist smiled warmly. "Welcome, Kayla. We're so glad to have you. Please sign in and take a spot anywhere in the studio. Class begins in 5 minutes." No one gave him a second glance as he made his way into the studio and unrolled his mat in the back corner. He surreptitiously opened the OmTracker app on his phone, placing it on the corner of his mat, as if he were just setting it aside. The instructor entered, a woman in her 40s with silver streaks in her dark hair. "Welcome, everyone! I see some new faces today. I'm Diana, and I'll be guiding your yoga journey for the next month." As the class began with simple breathing exercises, Anderson tried to focus on both following instructions and monitoring his app's performance. The beginning was easy enough, but as they moved into actual poses, he found himself struggling to keep up. "Extend into Warrior 2, Diana instructed, demonstrating the pose. "Front knee bent, back leg straight, arms extended parallel to the floor." Anderson attempted to mimic her position, wobbling precariously. His thighs burned with the effort. "Beautiful form, everyone," Diana praised, walking through the room. She paused beside Anderson. "Kayla, may I?" At his nod, she gently adjusted his stance. "Sink deeper into that front leg. Feel the strength in your foundation." By the end of the hour, Anderson was drenched in sweat and surprised by how physically demanding yoga was. As the class ended, several women introduced themselves. "First time?" asked a woman in purple leggings, smiling kindly.
Is it that obvious?
Anderson replied, attempting a light laugh. We all start somewhere. I'm Rachel. A bunch of us usually grab smoothies after Wednesday classes if you'd ever like to join.
Maybe next time,
he said, gathering his things. Thanks. Walking home, Anderson reviewed the app data. Tracker had successfully monitored his movements, identifying areas where his form needed improvement, and tracking the duration he held each pose. Despite his physical exhaustion, he felt a surprising sense of accomplishment. Over the next 2 weeks, Anderson attended classes 3 times a week as scheduled. Each time, it became a little easier to transform into Kayla. The makeup application became more skillful, his movements more natural. The yoga itself remained challenging, but increasingly satisfying. His app performed wonderfully, collecting valuable data and providing insights that he refined with each update. He should have been focused exclusively on the technical aspects, but something unexpected was happening. He was beginning to enjoy the classes for their own sake. After the 6th class, Rachel approached him again. That smoothie offer still stands. A few of us are heading over now. This time, Anderson hesitated only briefly before nodding. I'd like that. At the smoothie shop, Anderson found himself sitting with 5 women from the class, listening to their conversations about work, families, and yoga goals. He spoke little, afraid of revealing himself, but observed intently. So, what brought you to yoga, Kayla? One woman asked. Anderson had prepared for this question. Stress relief, mostly. I work in tech, and the hours can be intense. Tech? Me too, said a woman named Morgan. What company?
I'm actually developing my own app,
he replied, cautiously. This sparked genuine interest. For the next 20 minutes, Anderson found himself discussing the challenges of being a woman in the tech industry, drawing from observations he'd made of the few female developers he knew. The conversation felt surprisingly comfortable. Walking home that evening, Anderson realized he hadn't thought about being in disguise for most of the smoothie outing. He'd simply been present in the conversation, connecting with these women in a way he rarely connected with anyone. By the 3rd week, Anderson had collected more than enough data to satisfy his investors. The app was performing exceptionally well, and he had all the information needed to finalize it for market release. Logically, there was no reason to continue attending classes as Kayla. Yet, the night before what should have been his final class, he carefully laid out the black rainbow-stitched leggings and blue tank top. He told himself it was for one last data collection, though he knew the real reason went deeper. In the morning, he took extra care with his appearance. The blonde wig was now perfectly styled, his makeup flawlessly applied. The leggings and tank top felt comfortable, familiar. Looking in the mirror, he barely recognized traces of Anderson in Kayla's reflection. During class, Diana commended his improved form. Your dedication is paying off, Kayla. Your warrior sequence was beautifully aligned today. The praise sent an unexpected warm feeling through his chest. After class, Rachel approached. We're celebrating Morgan's promotion tonight at that new restaurant downtown. Nothing fancy, just dinner and drinks. Want to join us? Anderson had a meeting with investors the next day. He should spend the evening preparing his presentation, showing them the successful testing results and outlining the app's launch strategy. I'd love to, he heard himself say. Dinner with the yoga group marked a turning point. For the first time, Anderson spent hours as Kayla in a setting completely unrelated to app testing. The women discussed books they'd read, trips they'd taken, challenges they'd overcome. They included him in every conversation, sought his opinions, laughed at his jokes. Kayla, where did you get those earrings? They're gorgeous, Morgan asked at one point. Anderson reached up to touch the simple silver studs he'd purchased on a whim.
"Just a little shop downtown,"
he improvised, making a mental note to find and actually visit such a shop. By the time he returned home, Anderson felt a strange sense of reluctance to remove the wig and makeup. The division between his two identities was becoming increasingly blurred. The next morning, Anderson, back in his male clothes and appearance, presented the app testing results to his investors. Tracker was approved for launch with enthusiastic support. His months of work had paid off. He should have felt nothing but pride and relief. Instead, as he walked out of the meeting, he found himself thinking about the next yoga class, wondering what outfit Kayla should wear. The app launched the following week to positive reviews. Orders came in steadily, and Anderson found himself with actual income for the first time since starting the project. He rented a small office space where he could manage operations and continue development. There was no longer any professional reason to maintain the Kayla persona or attend yoga classes. Yet he found himself registering for the intermediate series at Serenity Flow. "We're delighted you're continuing with us, Kayla," Diana told him after class one day. "You've made remarkable progress."
"I never expected to enjoy it so much,"
he admitted truthfully. As weeks passed, Anderson began spending more time as Kayla than as himself. He expanded her wardrobe beyond yoga clothes, simple dresses, comfortable jeans, blouses in colors he'd never considered wearing before. The blonde wig became such a familiar part of his appearance that he found himself feeling naked without it. His friendship with the women from yoga class deepened. They invited Kayla to brunches, movie nights, hiking trips. For the first time in his adult life, Anderson experienced true friendship and community. As Kayla, he could express thoughts and feelings he had never acknowledged as Anderson. One evening, while having dinner with Rachel and Morgan, the conversation turned to dating.
"So, Kayla," Morgan began with a mischievous smile, "we've known you for months now, and you never mentioned dating. There must be someone?"
Anderson felt heat rise to his cheeks. "Not right now." "Any prospects?" Rachel pressed gently.
"It's complicated,"
he replied, taking a sip of wine.
"I don't think I'm ready."
Morgan nodded sympathetically.
"Coming out of something difficult?"
He considered this unexpected lifeline.
"You could say that. Still figuring some things out."
Rachel reached across the table and squeezed his hand.
"No rush. Dating will be there when you're ready."
The simple gesture of support brought unexpected emotion welling up. These women had become his closest friends, yet they didn't know who he really was. Or did they? Perhaps they knew Kayla better than anyone had ever known Anderson. 6 months after the app launch, Tracker was featured in a major tech magazine. The article requested an interview with the developer. Anderson agreed, but as the interview date approached, he realized he had a decision to make. The night before, he sat in his apartment surrounded by 2 distinct wardrobes, Anderson's nondescript jeans and t-shirts on one side, Kayla's colorful, expressive clothes on the other. His laptop displayed the significant profits from the app, enough to support himself comfortably for years. He picked up his phone and dialed a number he'd saved weeks ago, but hadn't had the courage to call. "Dr. Bennett's office. How may I help you?" "I'd like to make an appointment with Dr. Bennett. I understand she specializes in gender identity issues." "She does. May I ask if you're a current patient?" "No. This would be my first visit." "And your name?" He paused, then said firmly, "Kayla Anderson." The magazine interview took place at his office. The journalist, a woman in her 30s with a sharp eye and quick mind, asked insightful questions about the app's development and purpose.
What inspired you to create a yoga progress tracker specifically? She asked. Anderson, dressed in tailored black pants and a crisp blue blouse, the blonde hair now growing out naturally after hormone treatments had begun, smiled. Personal experience. I discovered yoga during a time when I was seeking balance in my life, and I wanted to create something that would help others track their journey. And what's next for you and OmTracker? We're developing features to make the app more inclusive for all body types and ability levels. I believe technology should help people connect with themselves and others in meaningful ways. After the interview, Kayla met Rachel and Morgan for lunch. They'd been supportive from the moment she had opened up about her transition, standing by her through the early appointments, helping her navigate the complex emotions and practical challenges. How did the interview go? Rachel asked as they settled at their table. Really well, Kayla replied, smoothing her black yoga leggings with the rainbow stitching, the same ones from her first class, now a treasured part of her regular wardrobe. She asked thoughtful questions, not just about the technology, but about the purpose behind it. That's because your app isn't just code. It's about connection, Morgan said. Just like you. Later that afternoon, Kayla taught her first yoga class at Serenity Flow. Diana had encouraged her to get certified after noticing her deepening practice and natural ability to help others. Standing at the front of the studio, looking out at the faces watching her expectantly, she felt a profound sense of rightness. Welcome, everyone, she began, her voice clear and confident. Let's start by finding a comfortable seated position. Close your eyes and begin to notice your breath. As she guided the class through the sequence, Kayla thought about the unexpected journey that had brought her here. What had begun as a disguise for market research had revealed her truest self. In seeking to understand others, she had finally understood herself. The black rainbow-stitched leggings moved with her as she demonstrated each pose, a constant reminder of her first tentative steps toward authenticity. Her blonde hair, now her own and growing longer each month, caught the light from the studio windows. After class, a new student approached her. This was my first time, the woman said hesitantly. I felt so self-conscious, but your instructions made me feel like I belonged here. Kayla smiled warmly, recognizing her past self in the woman's uncertainty. Everyone begins somewhere, she said. The beautiful thing about yoga and life is that it's always a practice, never a perfect. That evening, Kayla returned to her apartment, now decorated with plants, colorful throw pillows, and framed photos of her with Rachel, Morgan, and the other friends who had become like family. She opened her laptop to check on OmTracker's latest user statistics. A notification popped up. The magazine article had been published online. The headline read, OmTracker creator Kayla Anderson on Technology, Transformation, and Finding Your True Path. She clicked on the article and saw a photo of herself, smiling confidently in her office, wearing a simple blue dress that matched her eyes. The woman in the picture looked happy, authentic, complete. Beside her computer sat a framed copy of her legal name change document. Kayla Anderson was no longer a disguise or a character. She was who she had always been meant to be. Her phone chimed with a message from Rachel. Brunch tomorrow to celebrate the article? Everyone's in. Kayla replied with a quick, wouldn't miss it, before turning back to her computer. She had an idea for a new app, one that would help people track their personal transformations, whatever form those might take. Opening a blank document, she began to type, her silver bangles clinking gently against the keyboard. Outside her window, the city lights twinkled in the evening darkness. Inside, in the home she had created for herself, Kayla Anderson continued writing her own story. When she finally went to bed that night, she laid out her clothes for the next day, a floral dress for brunch, and, for later, her beloved black leggings with the rainbow stitching for an evening yoga practice. As she drifted off to sleep, she thought about how sometimes the most unexpected paths lead us exactly where we need to go. The journey that had begun with a simple market research problem had transformed into something far more meaningful, the discovery of her authentic self, hidden beneath years of uncertainty and disconnection. Now, as Kayla Anderson, she moved through the world with a confidence and joy that had always eluded her before. The app that had been her excuse to begin this journey now served as a bridge between her past and present, a creation that helped others while honoring the path that had brought her here. In finding her own balance, she had created something that helped others find theirs. And that, she reflected as sleep claimed her, was perhaps the most unexpected and beautiful outcome of all.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!